Hey Truth Seekers, this is Carolyn here, and I'm going to be doing a deck profile for our Fellowship with Dinosaurs deck. This is upgraded with some of the newer cards from like Red Letter Day and Fearless and things like that. So I wanted to go ahead and show you guys just kind of what we've done with it. So starting off, we do have 3 of our Hope power cards and 3 of our Love power cards here. And then we have 2 of the Prayer, which kind of act as anything. And these are my championship prayer cards that I had gotten during the first online tournament. So those are really cool cards there. But yeah, so since this is a dual color deck, we do run those, and we run those prayer just to make sure that we find the power cards that we're needing. I run Sadie in this deck. She is crucial due to her fact that she can get a level 1 Animo, not including an Ultra, once per turn into your small group. So she's awesome. Beginning, we have our one non-color card. We have our Universal Mercifier here. He allows me to swap it with a level 1 Animo from my deck with a VP of 7 or less. He's really helpful in this deck. Moving on with our Love here, we have a Kinleo. A Kinleo we have 2 different versions of here. So we have the 2 for 5, which has an ability that says as long as this card remains in your small group, your opponent may not reveal any Mega Cinis on you. And then we have our 1 for 2 over here, which allows us to search for power cards. Both of them are great. We might change up these ratios eventually, but having both of these cards in there is awesome. Moving on, we have 2 Fondly here. This is a 2 for 5 or a 2 for 8, as long as I send it out with a Hope Animo. Being a dual color deck, working with these fellowship bonuses is super important. Next, we have 3 Fairly. Fairly helps us get that fellowship bonus with anything and is just a really good card to have out there. Next, we have Popraise. Popraise we only have 1 copy of in this deck because we're using it more for its ability than anything, which its ability says as long as this card is in your small group, ignore any effects of the actions of Cinis revealed to you. Super helpful. We have 1 Servitude. This Servitude says once per turn you may draw 1 card for each Faith, Hope, or Holy Spirit Animo in your small group. So this one is super helpful in some occasions, and some it really doesn't help you. It just depends on the ratio of cards in your small group and what color they are. Moving on, we have our Agapesaur here, our level 1. We have 2 of these 2 for 5s, which says once per turn, discard 1 Faith or Hope Animo from your small group and search your deck for 1 Love Animo and place it in your hand. This is a really good way to get your level 2 Agapesaur or anything else that you might need. And then we just have 1 of the 2 for 4. No ability, just a nice, cute little Agapesaur here. And along with that, we have our level 2 Agapesaurs. So we have, again, we have a 2 and a 1 here. So we have our 2 for 10 over here, which has the ability, as long as this card is in your small group, any Cini that's revealed to you also has the weakness of Agapesaur in addition to its stated weakness. The really nice thing about this ability is because we have different types of Agapesaurs here, we have different verses to choose from. So we can technically just leave this in our small group and try all of these different verses. Since you can only try 1 of the verses on an Agapesaur per game, this is helpful because you can use this Agapesaur, you can use this one, you can use this one, and you can always use this one. So it's really helpful. This kind of is like the Agapesaur verse deck. Like, it's pretty cool. So anyway, moving on, we have a 2 for 9 over here, or a 2 for 12. The fellowship bonus is really great in this deck, but this one has an action that no opponent may reveal a Cini to you on their next turn. So really loving those Agapesaurs. And then, of course, since this is a Fellowship with Dinosaurs deck, we have Agapesaur Ultra. It is a 3 for 12 and says if this card is in your small group, anytime an opponent reveals a Cini to you, and after applying its action, you may search your deck for any 1 card. Really helpful, and I absolutely love the artwork on this guy. And our last Love Animo here is our Flow Ultra. This was the Animo Online Tournament Ultra. Love this card. And this one has the updated ability and the updated verbiage on it with the swap ×1. You may discard this card from your small group. If you do, search your deck for any 3 Animo, reveal them, place them in your hand. Love this card. Moving on to our Hope over here. We have 2 Schwimmer. These allow you to get 1 standard power card. It's a 1 for 3 or a 1 for 5, but since we're not using any Fellowship, any Holy Spirit in this deck, this is fine. Now, there is a card that we could put into this deck that is an equipment that changes any Fellowship bonus to a Hope or Love Fellowship bonus, I think. I don't remember which one it's specific. Hope it is, I believe. We don't run that in this deck, but it is a really nice card that you could run in something like this. We have Aurora. We have 2 of them simply because this is something Sadie can go get me. It is a 1 for 4, and this card can act as a power card, so it's really helpful when doing a lot of combo strategies. Next we have 2 Profess Hair. Profess Hair is great to go get these little guys like our Auroras and our Schwimmers. This Profess Hair says, search your deck for up to 2 level 1 Animo and place them into your small group if space provides. So it is a 2 shuffle back for 8, and he's just a really good card to get those combos rolling. We have 2 level 1 Socrows. This is a shuffle back 2 for 6. When this card is played from your hand into your small group, you may draw 1 card. And then we have 2 of the level 2s. This is a 1 and 1 shuffle back for 9. When this card is played from your hand to grow Socrow level 1, you may shuffle your hand back into your deck and draw 5 cards. Very helpful when your hand is very stagnant. Next, we have 2 Glimmer level 1s. These do have a Fellowship bonus, so this is a 2 shuffle 1 back for 6. Really good card here, but more than that, we really want it to just grow into its level 2. This is a 2 for 7 or a 2 for 10. When this card is played from your hand to grow Glimmer level 1, you may draw 2 cards. Very helpful for drawing, but also for points. And then, of course, as any good dinosaur deck, we have Conquersaur here. We have 2 different versions. We have a 2 for 5, which is 1 of anything, shuffle it back. And this one is a 2 specified for 7, but this one says when this card is played from your hand into your small group, draw 1 card. This card may not be grown or activated in the same turn in which it's added to your small group. Really good to add with, say, Profess Hair. So it's just sitting in there and you're not using it that turn, and then you just grow it your next turn and you move on. And then, of course, we want to grow this bad boy into its level 2. It is a 2 for 12, and the action says search your deck for any 4 cards and place them in the top of your deck in any order. Very helpful for stacking your deck for the next turn. And then finally, we have our Conquersaur Ultra. This is a 3 for 13 and says as long as this card is in your small group, any return costs on Animo in your small group may be treated as just regular Old Hope costs. Moving on to our single equipment card, we have Paul's Chains. Eventually we might up this to 2, but at the moment 1 is sufficient. This helps us get different cards into the small group, especially against things like Zapper King, etc. Paul's Chains is a really good card to have in any deck. Moving on to our story cards, we have 2 of the Rich Fool. Draw the bottom 3 cards of your deck. We also have 2 Hidden Treasure. Place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, and if you do, you may draw 3 cards. And then finally, we have a Paused Moz. Place this card in your active Cine spot or next to it if it's currently occupied by another card, and no opponent may reveal a Cine to you on their next turn. At the beginning of your next turn, remove this card as well as any other copies of Paused Moz in your hand, deck, or discard pile from the game. And then moving on to our Cines. We first of all have Judge Weed. He is an 8. His weakness is Glimmer level 2, which I run, but most likely my opponent's not going to. And his ability says, as long as a Cine is active, your opponent may not reveal Cines. We have Zapper King. Your opponent may not play any level 1 Animo from their hand into their small group on the next turn. He is a 9. We have our 10. We have a Venomoth. As long as this card is active, your opponent may not Your opponent's Animo may not be activated in the same turn that they are added to or grown in their small group. We have another 10 here. We have Waspits, which says when this Cine is revealed, select one card from your opponent's discard pile and set it to the side. It may not return for the duration of the game. And then moving on to our Megas, we have Venomoth Mega. Your opponent may not activate any level 1 Animo on their next turn. We have Scorch Mega. He's just a big boy at a 16. And then finally, we have a Fearcrow Mega Plus. Your opponent may not play any cards from their hand on their next turn. So, this has been the deck profile for our Fellowship with Dinosaurs. And I hope you have enjoyed this. And in the meantime, keep learning virtues and defeating Cines.